Tavern. And then earlier this week, there were some stories that were starting to come out, bubbling up to the top about how, sometimes when police officers go in there, they get a little harassed, hassled, stuff like that. There was a fight recently, I understand, with an employee who had been working there, and his blood alcohol level was and he'd been working. So his blood alcohol level was through the roof too, I guess, when they tested him. So should anything happen, should they be left alone? Is it just something that happened? I just want to know your thoughts about the Bismarck Tavern here today. And here's what people have been saying. Dan, if it is like you said, that people get shoved around when they go in, they don't dare go in, then that's a problem. Well, I agree with that. Some of these are on multiple lines here. It's hard to. I love going to Bismarck because it's not pretentious, and amen to that. Like I said, I've been in there once at a event, and we had a good time. We got treated really well. Dan, should have security. Is this routine? Is this a routine occurrence? Is this a one-time unusual incident? And then that isn't on the Bismarck. Okay, Bismarck and Empire need to clean up their act. People know it can be rough there. Okay. So that's the kind of feedback we're getting on both sides. We'd love to know what you think. What do you think? Should anything happen to the Bismarck? Should they be fined? Should they be anything at all? Should they be left alone? Your thoughts. The text club 35270. Should anything happen to the Bismarck after that recent shooting where they're still, scarily enough, looking for the perpetrator in that situation? All right, well, let's switch gears. Tell you what, something really neat is going on with Fargo Cass Public Health this week, encouraging residents to ditch the dip and quit the use of smokeless tobacco during the Through with the Chew week that is going on. We're right smack in the middle of it. Additionally, smokeless tobacco users are encouraged to make the Great American Spit Out, which is coming up tomorrow. Joining us to talk more about this from Fargo Cass Public Health is Melissa Markgard. Melissa, how are you today?
I am good. Thank you for having me on, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thank you. What is your position with Fargo Cass Public Health, Melissa?
Sure. So I am the Tobacco Prevention Coordinator, and along with that, I am a tobacco treatment specialist certified through the Mayo Clinic.
There's some major credentials right there. Melissa, why did you go into this type of work?
So I originally applied for the position not necessarily knowing that it was tobacco focused, but when I found out it was tobacco focused, I've embraced the position and become a very, I really want tobacco cessation. I want people to quit. I want to have policies in place that keep it out of the hands of minors, and so it's really easy for me to get up on multiple different soapboxes about why I love my job. So
and that's perfectly fine. We want you to advocate for this because that's the reason for the question. I wanted to know your passion behind your anti-tobacco stance. My oldest sister Beth, could rest her soul, was a smoker when she was a younger lady, and when she quit, she became like the most virulent anti-tobacco smoking person you'd ever run into, because once she realized the horrific dangers of tobacco, she really became an advocate. And so let's start there. Melissa, I got a sad story, and I already related this to her earlier today, but one of my best friends and my college roommate and the best man at my wedding died of a heart attack a couple of years ago, and I'm still not over it. And he was a young man, and one of the things that I've had in the back of my mind is he chewed. He started as a young man, and I remember him and a couple of my college buddies at our apartment in college, they would spittle into those cans of soda and then leave them laying around. Yeah. They'd all be full of just a little bit of that juice. It's so gross. Anyway, I just loved this guy, and so I put it to Melissa earlier today when we were talking. Would his chewing habit have anything to do with the fact that he had blocked arteries and died of a heart attack?
We know that smokeless tobacco increases your risk of many types of cancer. It also increases your risk of heart disease. And so, yes, that is. I mean, it could have contributed to it. It certainly didn't help it at all.
It seems, and I'm guilty of this too. Didn't think that chewing tobacco was quite as bad as smoking tobacco. Is that a falsehood?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so really, like you and I had a conversation earlier today about it. When you have chewing tobacco, there are people who think, well, chewing, it's not smoking. There's no secondhand smoke, so it's just me that's affected. And really, I mean, yes, that's true. But really, chewing tobacco is just a different way to get nicotine into your body, and it's incredibly addictive. It is incredibly deadly. We do know that less people chew tobacco than smoke cigarettes. But we want people to quit and to take this opportunity this week, and especially tomorrow, making tomorrow the Great American Spit Out, February 25th, as their designated quit day, because we want them to just make the decision to quit. And we know you can do it. We work with people on a daily basis that decide that today is going to be the day they quit, and we work with them and we help them develop a quit plan that breaks down their routines and why they chew and when they chew, and we talk to them about how to avoid their triggers and what that all entails, and then also how to prepare for their cravings, all with really making the goal of that quit attempt that much more successful. So that's really the goal.
And that is it right there. There are triggers. There are times. Watching the people that smoked and chewed in my life and still do, it seems like early in the morning or after meals or in a stressful circumstance.
For sure.
Can all be triggers. So what do we do? It's got to be very difficult for somebody who's trying to back away from this. What can they possibly do?
Right. So with those triggers, a lot of times that does come with breaking your routines. And so whether you're looking at quitting smoking or quitting chew, it's all this. I mean, you can apply it to anything that you're trying to quit, right? So you have routines, like you said, where you get up in the morning and you maybe start the coffee pot and then you go and have a cigarette, or you put your first dip in of the day. Now, what can you do in the morning after you start your coffee pot tomorrow? Tomorrow is your quit date. Now, what can you do to break that routine? Okay, so we talk to people about thinking through every time you put a dip in. And a lot of times people who chew or smoke, they know really specifically when they put a chew in and when they light a cigarette. They know that, and that's part of addiction too. So we want to. I don't want to focus on the fact that this is routines and habit, because this is an addiction and it's a challenging addiction to quit. But there are certain things that you can do to kind of try and avoid those routines and avoid those triggers. So, for example, maybe tomorrow morning is your quit date. You don't actually start your day by starting the coffee pot. Maybe you pour yourself a glass of orange juice instead.
Okay.
Or tonight on your way home, you're listening to me right now, headed home, but you got to stop and get gas like I do, and you're going to run into the gas station and get a dip, okay, or get a tin, or get your favorite pack of cigarettes, whatever the case is. Maybe you get the kind that you can't stand, okay, because you talk to a tobacco user, who has used for many, many years, and they know specifically which kinds they can't stand, that are gross, that are, that kind of are just a turn off to them. You buy that pack instead. You buy that tin instead, because tomorrow then you're not necessarily looking forward to putting that first dip in, because you know that it's not going to taste that great, and it doesn't matter anyway, because tomorrow is your quit date. Does that make sense? So you just try and
sure.
and avoid those triggers as much as possible.
Avoid the circumstances that you would find yourself in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Think through those circumstances and how you're going to avoid it during your quit.
I think something, by the way, we're being joined by Melissa Markgard with Fargo Cass Public Health. Among her jobs includes a tobacco prevention coordinator. And this week is a big week. It's through with the chew week. And tomorrow is the Great American Spit Out. We're trying to get you to quit chewing tobacco or never start in that situation. But I think one of the most important things about this whole thing is, trying to make people feel bad that they chew tobacco or smoke cigarettes. Right. Some of the best people I've ever met in my life smoke cigarettes or chew tobacco. And I think it's really important to make sure that we don't put them up against a wall and say, hey, right. You're a bad person because you chew tobacco or something like that. That's not it. What the real story here is that we care about you. We love you. We want you on the planet for a long time. And frankly, we want your breath to improve. So could you please try for me and or our friends or your loved ones to not chew, because we want you to be around for a long time, and we feel that way about you. And I bet that's really hard to get across sometimes.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's important to realize that, with the types of cancer that chew can cause, the oral cancer, it is important to realize that while it's not lung cancer, like smoke, you hear cigarettes and you think, oh my gosh, lung cancer. But with chew, you don't automatically think that. But it is those oral cancers. And the truth is that 50% of people who are diagnosed with an oral cancer die within 5 years. So we are talking about very deadly diseases that can be caused by chewing tobacco. And yeah, you're right. We care, and we want you to not be using those products. And that's why we're so happy to be on the show talking during everybody's drive home. It's great. So
yeah, well, there you go. Birth defects can actually be caused by chewing tobacco. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
Boy, that's incredible. One more thing to think about if you are chewing and you'd like to quit chewing is that you may be passing something on to your kids. But the bottom line, I guess, through the whole thing, in listening to you, Melissa, is the person's got to want to quit, don't they? Oh,
for sure. Yes. Yep. And I mean, that's with any addiction. We can't force anyone to quit. Me talking might not convince anyone that now is the time to quit, but we sure want you to try and even think about it. Let's start thinking about how we can maybe change some of our habits, so maybe we're using less. And so then when we're ready to actually say, yes, I'm going to quit, we're using that much less of that product. So it's not quite the challenge, when you come to that conclusion that quitting is what you want to do. We also do provide counseling here at Fargo Cass Public Health. Our program is called Break Away from Nicotine. And so in receiving that counseling from myself and my coworker, and then we also can provide cessation medications, doing those things together, so receiving that counseling and those cessation products, that can more than double your rate of success. And so that is also something to think about. When you have someone who you can talk to, who can give you ideas on how to avoid things and is supportive of you and will check in on you. I have it right on my calendar. Someone has a quit date coming up here in March, and it's a significant holiday for her specifically, and I have it on my calendar to call her that day and just encourage her, and make sure that she knows that someone else cares, and someone else is here to help you.
And we love you, and we want you to be on the planet for a long time, and that's why we want you to quit. Nobody's picking on anybody. Melissa Markgard with Fargo Cass Public Health. Tomorrow is the Great American Spit Out, part of Through with the Chew Week, and we hope that you'll give it a shot. And if it doesn't work out, that you'll give it another shot and another until one day that you can quit. Any questions, Melissa? How do they get a hold of you?
They can give me a call over here at Fargo Cass Public Health during business hours, 701-476-4083.
There it is, Melissa Markgard with Fargo Cass Public Health. Melissa, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Have a good evening. KFGO time is 4:54. You're listening to The Drive.
Every sandwich has bread, every burger has a bun, but these warm, golden, smooth steam buns, these are special. Reserved for the very best. The Filet-O-Fish. And you can have them too.
Right now, get any size Sprite for $1. Pair it with 2 Filet-O-Fish sandwiches for $5. In a hurry, order on our app and pick up curbside. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Homeowners and street crews use salt and sand on icy sidewalks and roads to make them safer to navigate, mostly because sand and salt are cheap and abundant, but they aren't very good for the environment or for buildings, roads, or cars. Even small amounts of sand can leach into surrounding soil and contaminate groundwater, and it's also highly corrosive. Sand isn't corrosive, but it still isn't a great choice for the environment. If sand isn't swept up every spring, it can clog storm drains and contribute to flooding. When it reaches rivers and lakes, sand buries aquatic floor life, fills in natural habitats, and clouds water. Sand also absorbs and carries contaminants like oil and grease into water bodies. The best de-icer is the non-chemical back-breaking solution, the snow shovel. Keeping up with the snow by shoveling, snow blowing, and or sweeping